From A&E, here are Shelley Tatro and Drew Tappan. They're joined by Johnny Drama Alves and Hill Holiday's John Dukakis.
Well, I'm overwhelmed by that reception.
Yeah, that's better. Way better. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome today. Somebody else said that they were going to have the most fun segment, but I think we're going to beat them. I want to welcome an old friend of mine, Johnny Alves. We had other nicknames for him, which I can't use right now, back in the day. But I've known Johnny for decades because I worked very closely with New Kids on the Block when they first when they hit it big. I was not there at the very beginning of that, and then with Mark and the Funky Bunch once that started to happen, and Johnny was always there and always good for a good laugh, and it was really great to be around him. And then, of course, our guests from A&E, who had the wisdom to figure out that the Wahlbergs were an amazing family that was worth doing a show about. So I want to start by talking a little bit about the show, and maybe we can start by showing the clip that we have.
Mark was the baby of the family.
That went for the ass whippings.
What we used to do is take Mark and we would swing him. And we'd use the wall as the backstop.
He panicked.
I didn't think he was that much of a chicken.
Hey! I figured she'd be a little mad. I just didn't know where she would be on the Alma Madometer. What do you... Ah! Better him than me, that's all I can say. I'm tasting oregano.
There's oregano in them.
I know what it is. Garlic.
There's garlic and meatballs.
Well, it's some fancy in there that ain't supposed to be, and I'm telling you, I tasted rosemary. It's too much rosemary.
There's no rosemary in there.
Then there ain't enough rosemary. That's what it is. No!
I'm Bob Wahlberg, and I am the seventh of 9 kids.
Nip guards. Oh, you put them on your nipples?
You don't want your nipples bleeding while you're running. The abrasiveness of their clothing would chafe their nipples, or I've heard maybe they come off.
You want to try it?
Not with you, because I'm not really comfortable talking about nipples with my mother.
I don't want to deal with that.
Are you kidding me?
Wipe it off.
People sit here. Food goes here.
Come on, just cuddle me, please.
No,
Okay.
I do not spoon.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You'll never believe what I just found. I found your monkey.
Listen, I love you. I'm in a meeting right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw him away.
Hold on. Hello? Don't throw it away.
He misses you.
We can talk about the monkey later.
So a very funny show, and I want to hear a little bit about how it came to be. This is such a great family, a very large family, as we know. I was remembering with Johnny all of the names of the 9 kids, the 9 siblings. But how did this? Tell us a little bit about the genesis of the show, Johnny, from your perspective. We'll start with you.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Mark came to me and asked me if I wanted to join the show, and it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I've been with this family over 25, 26 years. John's been around. And the reason why he wasn't there in the beginning, we couldn't afford him. That's the New Kids on the Block and Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. But yeah, it was a no-brainer. Marky came to me and said, listen, we're going to do a family show. We're going to bring it over to, actually it was over at the History Channel first, and he can explain a little more, a bit about that. But yeah, we started the show, and it's been great. Drew?
So what happened was History was developing the show, and it was a bit more process-driven about the the family business. And when you pitch something to the A&E networks under the A&E Lifetime History and their digital brands, a lot of times you're really shopping it to all of the networks. And when we saw the pilot, one of our executives, Devin Graham, actually said, God, there was a scene in the cutting room floor that was with Alma and Mark and Paul, and it reduced Mark and Paul into like children again, and Alma ruled the roost. And she goes, there's something so special about that. And when we went back to the family, and Mark's like, I'll do whatever. When Mark and Donnie came on board, it really turned it into a much bigger show, and it ended up on A&E that way.
I think that was what, so like, this was before my time, before I came to A&E, but it was sort of, you know, Mark and Donnie's passion for the project, for the business, and to really want to put their family sort of on the same priority level as their huge TV and movie careers was, I think, really impressive to the network.
Well, it's really a great example of branded entertainment at its best, because this is a win-win situation. Obviously, Donnie and Mark wanted to promote the restaurant. They wanted to originally, you know, help Paul out, who's this incredibly talented chef, and obviously bring all of the family circus into it. And I think you've done a great job of capturing it. As reality television has morphed, has grown, developed, and morphed, and by the way, I am somebody who thought that it would last for a year or two and then go away.
I think a lot of people did, yeah.
I predicted the demise of
was
hip hop too about 10 years ago, so I may not be the best person for that. But how have you seen it develop? And as executives who are looking for the next thing and to extend the length of time of a show, how do you see it going?
Well, I think, you know, everybody will tell you it's sort of the same. We all watch the same growth, right? Starting in '92 is kind of, we credit Buna Murray with starting The Real World, right, for MTV. And it was that sociological experiment with divergent characters from divergent backgrounds put in a house together. And then from there, it took off to sort of the game boom in the 2000s with, you know, Big Brother and Survivor and Amazing Race. And then the game boom kind of had a talent angle that came in with your American Idols and America's Next Top Model and Project Runways of the world and Top Chefs. And from there, celebrities got into the game, and so celebriality kind of took off on its own way. And then it's the subcultures really took over. It's like, you know, everything from, you know, Guidos to swamp people to Mormons to the Amish to, you know, people who shoot ducks, you know. And so the subcultures kind of took hold, and I would say that the subculture still, I think, is an important space for us. It is really hard these days to find a show or an idea that doesn't feel so derivative of something else. And I will say that's not always a bad thing, because many ideas are derivative. It's just finding the right hook or the way in for your network. But we are always searching for new worlds, so that we come into a room and we talk about something and you have a million questions about that world. You know you're onto something special. And then I would say now it's sort of more the experimental space. You know, you see Are You the One? Or, you know, Naked and Afraid is a huge hit sort of in the experimental space. And even our own sister channel, FYI, had Married at First Sight, if you guys saw any of that. You know, a small channel that just launched for the A&E networks had this giant hit in Married at First Sight, which is, you know, real life situations, real people living real life situations that we document. Granted, we're putting them in those situations, but as you're watching the show, it feels real. It is real.
Is there a secret sauce that makes each of these shows work? And can you divine the ones that don't work and what's missing there?
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we'd be in Vegas and a lot richer than we are now if we
sure,
really.
We always know.
Exactly.
We always know.
It's annoying when people say that, but there are certain things that I think for our audience that we're always looking for, and Shelley kind of touched on it a second ago. That notion of a reality show versus a real show. Our audience feels like if this is happening with the cameras or without the cameras, they're more interested. The minute we contrive something, put something a little false, we're realizing they're a little more rejecting of it. And that feels, it feels a little bit of that across the whole marketplace, but I think there are some networks that get away with it that are more branded that way. And I think that our network is the old tagline, the real life drama. I think that still holds true, even though we've moved into the Be Original space.
So, John, I'm guessing that there are times when you're shooting this where, given what I know of the Wahlberg world, that keeping yourself under control in terms of, laughing may be an issue. Is that ever
Well,
been a
yeah,
problem?
not only that, it's just keeping my swearing and all the other stuff. But A&E is constantly like, you know,
Potty mouth.
drama, can you please just like, but other than that, the laughs, I mean, you've been blessed enough, like you said, we go back decades, 25 years at least, and to be around this family is incredible. And that's why you see the bonding that was instantaneous when I met the kids, and Mark and Donnie and all the new kids on the block. But to bring it to the Wahlbergs, that we've been together since then, since I've been taking care of Marky, I call him my oldest son, since 17 years old. And to bring all of that to you guys is exactly what you guys are saying. It's just real, live, fun, everything that we do. Just turn the cameras on. I mean, we give the post 50 to 60 minutes of material, gold I call it. And you know, they only do a 22-minute show, you know what I mean? So it's like, between the swearing and everything else, they get a lot of stuff to cut.
You're keeping the guy who beeps.
Oh yeah, I stay with a
busy.
beep. I kind of beep myself when it starts to happen. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it's the turn on the cameras, follow us, and you'll get your laughs, and you'll be touched by us, because that's what we do. We're putting in real life situations, and we just give you our love. You know what I mean?
So this extra footage thing leads into something else which I think is interesting, which is the whole digital revolution, what it's done for shows like Wahlbergers or any of your other shows. How is that affected how you do what you do? The fact that there is a digital world and that people are looking for extra content.
I don't think it's affected what we do or how we produce TV, but it's this huge additive part of the brand for us now, because we do have tons of footage that hits the cutting room floor that can never go anywhere, right? So we sometimes have separate producers that are in the field or embedded with a project that are there capturing their own stuff, and then oftentimes we work closely with the third party that's producing the show to sort of hand over all these great gems that it kills you sometimes that you have no place to put it on TV, but yet there's a place to put it on digital. So sometimes we purposely produce stuff for digital, and sometimes it's just great stuff that we can't possibly fit into a show. But it's all additive.
Curious, shows that are either out there or have been in the past, any that you really wish you had developed?
We always say the same thing, but you go first, and
Yeah.
I'll pick something else.
This question's been asked before, I guess.
We've heard this question a lot, and it's kind of for us, we did it separately and came up with the same thing with the last thing we were doing. It's Catfish on MTV. It's smart, it tells a crazy story, everyone can relate to it in some way or other, and it takes you on a journey that you can't turn away from.
And I would say for me, this is before I joined A&E Storage Wars, I was actually furious that I didn't come up with the idea. I was one of these people who had all her belongings in a storage facility, and I would go there on weekends to visit my stuff. And I would see people, like literally, if you didn't pay for your bill every month, at some point, they undo the padlock and they open up the drawer and they sell your stuff. And then when I saw that show on TV, I was like, oh my God, how did I not think of that? You know, like as a TV producer, why didn't I? So I thought, and now here they are, like a million seasons in. It's a hugely successful show still for A&E. So it's been going on for a long time. And it came at the right time, too. It was sort of at a recession. It was that year where everybody was looking for a way to make a buck, like everybody was hurting, right? So the show made sense why it succeeded. Here was a chance that people at home could watch and say, geez, I could make a buck doing that. You know, I could go in and buy some of those storage lockers and flip some of that stuff. So it's kind of the right timing for that show, and it's actually still working for us. What? What?
It's big.
Oh, what?
And it's Tetro, right?
Yeah,
Tetro.
So where is it going to be in 5 years?
That's what you guys are going to tell us. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to solve our problems for us, right? That's what we want to know.
We're working on
I
it.
mean, they say everything old is new again, right? Just like fashion, and you see it happening in the scripted world. It's funny, people pitch us something like, oh, we did that 5 years ago, we did that 10 years ago, but there's no reason why you can't look at it again today to say, how can you make that relevant today? Because you do feel like it's all so cyclical.
And I think we're looking at a time, again, over the years you hear this again and again, but the golden age of television, and it's really the golden age of scripted right now.
Yeah.
And there is a massive amount of unscripted out there, so you have to find something. That bar has been raised so high because of scripted, that unscripted, which was a kind of funny fluke, 15 years ago, now it has to be at that level, at the same level as these high-quality scripted shows that are out there.
And you talk about you thought it was going to be over how many years ago? It's like we were talking to our head researcher the other night, and he was like, year to date, non-scripted programming is growing at this crazy rate, like 16% this year. So there are over 10,000 plus, so far, year to date, 10,000 hours of nonfiction programming that have hit the airwaves this year. So the competition, you know, to kind of break through that clutter is so crazy. It's so hard.
Here's a show that I think you hope will cut through the clutter that we can introduce now.
You can call me crazy. I am crazy. I jumped out of airplanes and got blown up how many damn times? You're damn right I'm a little crazy. I'm never gonna cure PTSD. I gotta learn how to live with it.
There is an emotional bond with a dog that is unique.
The dog saving the human saving the dog.
I can't do this, it's too stressful.
Put up or shut up. You either want to get better or you don't.
Lindsay and Jim Stanek pair soldiers with shelter dogs. Each carries their own scars. Together, they find a way back into society.
So then you try to find a service dog that was $10,000 to $60,000.
We were basically out of luck.
She looked at me and said, well, when the hell are we gonna do it ourselves?
I'm a little bit of a control freak. I'm okay with that.
We found trainers locally in Rio Rancho, and they said, well, you train with your dog. You see him and he's getting ready to do it, and he's all tensed up. Then you see the magic. His shoulders come down, and then you see their smile for the first time. And then he realizes he's got his dog. This is what makes me get up every morning. It's like a sniper and their spotter. And I've got my spotter with me.
If I didn't have her, I wouldn't survive.
What our audience has been telling us as we were doing some research, why does our audience love our brand? And it was, they're looking for shows, and they feel like A&E delivers on this sort of real and raw and relatable programming. And for us, Dogs of War was, I mean, the program Paws and Stripes that Jim and Lindsay Stanek do, it's an incredibly intensive program, and it's amazing. And talk about real. I mean, these are, you know, real soldiers coming home from the war that have real issues, and it's amazing to take these shelter dogs who don't have a home, you know, and train them and find the right match. And it's an intensive process. It takes months to find the right match and to have them work together. And it really has changed these men's lives. And the hours are very powerful. So it's a pretty great show.
And I think that Jim and Lindsay, our A&E audience, kind of reflected back. They encountered an obstacle. They found a way around it, like pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. I think that's kind of speaks to the nature of who our audience is. So
that's great.
That's Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Soon.
Premiere. Veterans
watch.
Day. Yeah.
Please watch.
Yeah, please watch.
Tell your friends. Put it on the Twitter. Spread the news.
So we have 1 minute. We have a Twitter question, and I'll read through it really quickly. When you look for shows to develop, how much do you think about the potential for dynamic digital content extensions?
Wow.
It's a lot of words. Oh, that's...
You know what? I think if we're being
Drew?
really,
Yeah.
if we're being really honest, we have to look at digital as a big part of it, but the idea is the idea.
Yeah.
And the first thing that has to be is that it has
What's
to be
the
a
show?
great idea. What's the show? Can you tell it in a sentence? Can you get it out quickly? Can you make sure people are going to want to watch it? What's the poster going to be? And then the digital piece is important.
Yeah, and we have an amazing team that is the digital team that's there to support us, that comes at us once the creative is sort of there with all these ideas to help support it.
Sounds great. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you, guys.
joining us today.